boy there, unya shot.
Hey, my brother. I see a dear yo. Nora, who put you now? I'm not about to report for Poku. Who put you now? Yeah, my Kenya Bacana. Yeah.
I'm here present, Deputy Minister for Health, Nananon, traditional rulers, custodians of the land, holy CEOs and heads of state institutions, esteemed development partners, business leaders who have traveled far and near to be here, leaders of our esteemed Value Association, Board of TCDA, Board Chairman, Mr. Professor William Drew, distinguished investors, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media. Mr. President, it's an honor to welcome you to the maiden Ghana Tea Clubs Investment Summit. And I am honored, Mr. President, by design, by your stroke of pen. I was appointed and inducted in the same 17th of February I took office at the Tea Club Development Authority. So this is exactly my 1-year anniversary. And thank you your gesture, Mr. President. Today, Ghana represents a deliberate and strategic step in positioning Ghana's tea club sector as a central leader for national economic transformation under your leadership. The global market for the tea club exceeds $230 billion. Ghana's participation remains modest in comparison. This differential is not merely a statistic, but it is a strategic opportunity. Across cashew, coconut oil, palm, rubber, mango, and shell, that is what we refer to as seaports for short. Nearly 2 million livelihoods are supported. Processing capacity is expanding. International demand is growing. Private sector interest is rising. However, production volumes remain below the level required to fully serve both domestic processors and export markets. Without structured expansion, we risk constraining our own industrial growth. Your Excellency, this summit therefore marks a transition from fragmented development to coordinated expansion, from isolated value chain effort to integrated sector strategy, and from incremental growth to measurable outcomes or scale. So President, the Chief Local Government Authority established under Act 1010 is mandated not only to regulate, but to sustainably develop and competitively position the sector. We are committed to executing the mandate with clarity and discipline under your leadership. Our focus is structured expansion, increasing acreage responsibly, improving productivity, strengthening regulatory oversight, enhancing traceability, and enabling value addition.
I
Thank you. Let me thank the young doctor for the very wonderful. Some of the things she said I didn't understand. The quality of my tree doesn't read that standard. But we thank him. We live in a dangerous region. Recent incident has shown what the threat of instability and security is to our regional integration and trade. As has been the tradition over decades, we trade amongst ourselves, and so agricultural products from Ghana are traded into Burkina Faso. Agricultural products from Burkina Faso, Niger, onions, tomatoes are traded into Ghana. Recently, some traders from Ghana went to Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes, and they were ambushed in a village where they were transacting, and armed insurgents, terrorists, ambushed attacked. Unfortunately, we lost a number of our compatriots. Happily, a few survivors. So the Ghana Army is arranging to medevac them from Burkina Faso so that those who are injured can continue to receive treatment here in Ghana. And so, on behalf of the government, we express our condolences to the families of those who have either killed or have been injured. Agriculture is one of the most important contributors to our GDP, and it is a business that has long been looked down upon. I have two experiences. One, the son of a farmer. My father was at one time the biggest commercial rice farmer in Ghana, and so I grew up on a farm. And so for me, agriculture is a passion, it's a hobby, and I just love to see crops grow. Aside from that, my second experiences, I've traveled far and wide, and sometimes I visit the country. My colleague president invites me to visit his farm, and I've been impressed with what they do. I mean, public servants, ministers, every weekend if you go to East Africa and other places, you better not make an appointment with a public servant on the weekend because you won't get him. Friday they leave to their farm, they come back on Monday and go to work. And so what Andy was saying, it's in my public, officers, ministers, MPs, traditional rulers especially, because they are the custodians of the land. One of the major hindrances to tree crop development is access to land. And so traditional rulers especially, should take an interest in this initiative of promoting tree crops. So in whatever geographical area of the country you are, if it's in the north, Ashina plantation, if it's in Rockland area, cashew, if you're in Western region, rubber, cocoa, and if you're in Lodua area and other places, mango. And so all of us must take an interest in the agricultural sector, and especially in tree crops. I want to thank Nanako and Andy referred to my own tree crop farm. Nanako gave me 50 acres of land, and I planted cocoa on the 50 acres, so I'm a cocoa farmer. And so when the price was reduced by government, it affects me too. I want to be able to empathize with farmers so that when we take any policy decision, we know that it has an effect on farmers and we feel it ourselves. And the price, if there is no fertilizer, the price of fertilizer is expensive. I feel it myself because I also buy fertilizer. I recently acquired another 100 acres of land, and this time I've dedicated it to oil palm. And so we've planted the oil palm, we're putting in the irrigation system. And so I'm endorsing Andy's suggestion. When I'm going to do a reshuffle, the mitigating factor will be that we must have a farm. Public servants, ministers, priests, clergymen, traditional rulers, everybody, try and do some agriculture. Just like almost every public servant, as a farm. And so let's take agriculture seriously. We must walk the talk, we must lead by example. We can't just always talk and say people should go back to the land when you yourself are not going back to the land. Recently, we've had a crisis with cocoa. It hasn't affected only Ghana. It's affected all producing countries. It shows how unstable raw material exports are if you don't process and add value. And that means that we must take advantage of this crisis to make a pivotal change in how we handle our raw exports. And we've exported raw beans since Ghana is very excited. Ghana is making of one colonial government. Ghana at that time was the leading exporter of cocoa. And to take that to the 21st century, we are still the largest leading exporter of raw cocoa beans. That is not an accolade we should take pride in. We should take pride in being the leading exporter of manufactured cocoa products. And so this crisis must mark a turning point in our cocoa industry. As I explained when I spoke in others, we collateralize the beans and they give us money to buy the cocoa and export. So because of that, we cannot even allocate enough of the beans to our local processors. And that's why we went to the decision that we should change the funding cycle of cocoa by raising the money locally in cities, paying the farmers, and then allocating a certain portion of the cocoa beans to our processing capacity. And then we increase the capacity to process locally so that we can create jobs within our value system and also stabilize the price of the cocoa that we produce. So without much ado, as Jerry, the MC, said, I'll acknowledge the representative of Otumfo, our traditional leaders, our ministers of state and international governments, and just say distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to join you on this inaugural Ghana Tree Crops Investment Summit. Let me start. This summit is not merely ceremonial, it is strategic.
reflects a central commitment of the NDC's 2024 manifesto, which is to reset Ghana's economy by strengthening productive sectors, expanding exports, creating decent jobs, and positioning agriculture as a driver of industrial transformation. There's an account proverb that says, "Ofro your palm, you can." When you climb a new tree, that is when you are supported. Today, I must say, Ghana is climbing a new tree, the tree crop sector. And so we invite all Ghanaians, our investments, partners, diplomatic partners, to climb this tree with us. For decades, agriculture has contributed about 21% to our GDP. And cocoa has been our pride, earning roughly $2 billion annually and supporting millions of livelihoods. The 2024 manifesto says clearly that Ghana must move from dependence to diversification. Climate shocks, global price volatility, and environmental stress demand that we broaden our agricultural base. Economic resilience requires reducing our over-reliance on single commodity exports. And this is why tree crops are central to our agriculture for economic transformation agenda as set out in our 2024 manifesto. Beyond cocoa are 6 priority crops: cashew, coconut, oil palm, rubber, mango, and shea form the backbone of this diversification strategy. Together, these crops employ over 1.6 million Ghanaians and support strong rural economies that promote gender inclusion, contribute 2% of our GDP, and 4.5% of agricultural GDP. The numbers tell a very powerful story. Share supports over 500,000 households, mostly women, and cashew employs nearly 890,000 people. Rubber supports about 500,000 farmers, and oil palm provides jobs for over 120,000 Ghanaians. These are not secondary crops, they are engines of transformation. Our manifesto commits us to transforming agriculture into a high-value, export-driven sector, and tree crops are central to that vision. Government is committed to building a 24-hour economy, a system in which production, processing, logistics, and exports operate continuously round the clock to maximize productivity and to create jobs. And tree crops are well positioned within this 24-hour economy framework. We will no longer export raw cashew, and so I invite our investment partners who export cashew to come and build the capacity to process our cashew locally. I want to travel and be able to buy cashew and see produce of Ghana, not produce of India or produce of some third-party country. We will no longer export raw cashew, raw shell, or unprocessed rubber, while importing the same finished products at higher prices. And so our target is clear: 50 to 60% local processing annually, expansion of agro-industrial parks, incentives for private sector processors, and stronger regulatory oversight through the Tree Crops Development Authority. Under the National Policy on Integrated Oil Palm Development, we call it the Red Road, government is committed to invest $500 billion to develop 100,000 hectares of oil palm and create 250,000 direct jobs. If we achieve this target, it will eliminate the 40% oil palm imports that we import from other areas and make Ghana a net exporter of oil palm. And so this is consistent with our pledge to scale up high-impact agricultural value chains with strong private sector participation. And we're placing emphasis on empowering especially women and our youth. Tree crops deliver exactly that. Women processors dominate the shea industry. Cashew and mango offer strong opportunities for young people to engage in agribusiness. Coconut and oil palm create processing and logistical jobs. And so through improved seedlings, farmers' grants, access to finance, and matching grants for small and medium enterprises, we're going to build inclusive value chains. Agriculture must be modern, it must be profitable, and it must be attractive to young people.